Welcome to the Honorable Secretary and our respected teachers, Mr. Somik Dey, and all my lovely friends sitting in front of me. First of all, I would like to wish you all a very auspicious good afternoon. I am here today to deliver a short speech on an interesting topic, and the topic is failure is a stepping stone to success. I have selected this topic because we all experience failure in the different stage of our life, and there are two types of failure. One type of failure is that we fail in our class, in our academic class. For example, in that failure we have to stay in the same class for another year. And another kind of failure is to get into the merit list. For example, if I want to be a teacher, first of all I have to be qualified, and the minimum qualification is that I have to complete my graduation course. And now the present government had added an extra qualification, that is we have to complete a B.Ed also. And after that we have to sit for SSC examinations, and if we get qualified, only then we can be the teacher of a school. So that is another kind of failure. So what can be gained through failure? That means failure is not the end of life. Failure teaches us some lessons, and failure is a training ground for developing courage, patience and enthusiasm. Self-confidence gives us courage, and from failure we have to gain our self-confidence. So first level of English learning. For example, when I start learning English, actually I would like to share my personal views, because I was a failure from class 5 to 12. That means when I was in class 12, I didn't know tense, voice, narration, etc. So when after passing out HS examination, I got admitted in a college with political science honors. But when the professors came to the class, maximum time they delivered their lecture in English language, and I didn't understand ABC of their language. So at that time, that means in the college, I decided to make up my mind. I made up my mind that I could not continue my career, my course, and I left the college. And after that I searched for an English teacher, and I started learning English. So when I started learning, I proved failure a lot of times, but the teacher's motivations, the teacher encouragement, the teacher's influence helped me a lot to get that language. So I also faced a failure in my life, and the teacher's motivation give us self-confidence that if a man wish to gain anything, and he can achieve it. Enthusiasm turns failure to success, and I got that enthusiasm from my teacher. But another kind of failure is waiting for us, that means misfortune. And if misfortune, that means some kind of accident happens in our life, that is not our fault. For example, on the way of our home or on the way of our school, we may meet with some accident. So that is another kind of misfortune. And at that time, if we meet with an accident, we may get nervous, we get depressed, and maybe some of our limbs, maybe hand, maybe legs, maybe badly fractured, and maybe I may become crippled forever. So we have to overcome those misfortunes also. And there are many great persons. If we look at Caroli Takas, I always remember Caroli Takas. Perhaps many of you do not know who is that person. Caroli Takas is a great person, and he is called the national hero of Hungary. Hungary is the name of a country, and Caroli Takas is the national hero of that country, just like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in our country. So Caroli Takas had a dream. Actually, he was in army, but he had different dream. So job and dream are two different things. For example, now I am a teacher. I teach different subjects in my locality, but that is not my dream. My dream is to become an officer. So jobs and dreams are totally different from each other. So just like Karoli Takas had a dream, and his dream was to win gold medal in Olympic Games, and he wanted to win in shooting. So he practiced a lot. So in his spare times he continues his practice, and it was in 1940, that means 1940 Summer Olympics was supposed to be held there. And in 1939 he lost his right hand. So he got depressed. He lost his dream because right hand was his dream. So after 1 month in the hospital, he did not lose heart. He easily got back, he easily recovered, and he made up his mind immediately. So instead of getting depressed, instead of becoming hopeless, he made up his mind that he did not concentrate on what he lost. He concentrated on what he still had in his life, and he started concentrating on his left hand, and he started practice secretly. He started practice secretly with his left hand, but unfortunately he could not participate in the 1944 Summer Olympic Games, because at that time Second World War was going on. So unfortunately he could not participate. So all his effort for long 4 years brought to nothing, yet he did not lose hope. So he still continued his practice, and he started waiting for the next Summer Olympic Games, which was to be held in 1948. So in 1948 he also could not join, and finally when he joined in 1952, he won with his left hand. So the whole world was surprised that a crippled person, a handicapped person, won the gold medal in Olympics only with his determination and only with his energy, only with his iron determinations. And in history, in Olympic history, Karoli Takas was the only person to win 2 times gold medal in shooting. After that, if there is no obstacle, there is no success. That means the another name of success is to face obstacle. That means I am coming here to learn spoken English, and I have many obstacles. I have to leave many of my duties at home. I have to cross a long distance to get here. So in this way, every success has to face many obstacles. And faith is the greatest asset in life. We can get success easily if we have faith in ourselves. Without faith, we cannot get success. So in this topic, I'd also like to state the story of an engine driver. Perhaps many of us had studied the story. That means he also met with an accident. That means the engine driver, that means the great persons always advised us to look at the bright side of life, and we should look at the bright side of everything. That means everything that has happened, that is happening in our world only for the benefit for us, maybe that we cannot understand. Maybe that we cannot understand the bright side of things. So that engine driver advised everyone, he told everyone that we should not get depressed, we should not get so much anxious over our anxiety, over our sufferings. And what happened in his life, that once he lost his leg in a train accident. So in a party, he was invited to a party, and he attended that party. So a group of his friends came to him just for fun, just for ridiculing him, and asked him, what is the bright side of your accident? That means in that accident you had to lose your right leg. So what kind of bright side you are looking in these situations? So that engine driver replied that earlier I had to wear 2 shoes, but now I have to wear 1 shoes. I have to polish 1 shoes. So actually this accident lessen this accident, mitigate my labor on my shoes. So this is called the bright side of everything. So if that engine driver looked at the dark side of his leg, if he get depressed, that means depression cannot regain his cannot give him the original right track. So better we should forget the past, we should concentrate on the present, and we should go ahead of our life, and we should take the failure as a big challenge. And in this topic, I would also like to mention here that there are two kind of thinker among us in our society: negative thinker and positive thinker. The great persons are always positive thinker. They always tell us that adversity is a common thing in our way of life. If we want to get success, adversity is compulsorily found by us on our way of life. So we have to overcome that kind of opportunity. So negative thinker always finds an excuse, and they always avoids their duty. A negative thinker finds difficulty in every opportunity. That means people face opportunity. It is not that opportunity does not come to every people. Opportunity is for everyone. But to a negative thinker always finds that difficulty, that means sees a difficulty in every opportunity, but a positive thinker sees an opportunity in every difficulty. To a positive thinker, nothing is impossible. He will try his best to overcome any kind of difficulty. Every failure is a step to success. That means those who have no aim in life have no failure. So only to a negative thinker, they will not experience any kind of failure, because to a negative thinker they have no definite aim in life. And as a persons, that means we have been created by God with much intelligence. In this earth, only man can control the whole world. So man has a definite aim in life, and if a man without aim, that means there is a well-known proverb that the life without aim is just like a rudder without a boat. That means if we have no aim, we have no boat. And if we have aim, we have to face difficulty, we have to face failure, and we have to accept the failure. So he is alone free from total failure who makes no attempt. So in my WhatsApp group, 2 days ago, I just saw a clip in my WhatsApp group. That means I saw in that video there was a fight between a kid. That means a kid, that means a small goat. A fight between a kid and an ox. So I got confused by seeing the stamina, by seeing the enthusiasm of the little kid. That means ultimately the kid won the fight. That means the ox again and again defeated the kid, but the kid never surrendered, and ultimately the ox surrendered. The ox ran away from there. So this story, this video clip also taught a good lesson. That means however big or however dangerous the situation might be, we have to accept the challenge. And if we have never ending attitude, if we have never quitting attitude, then we can ultimately win any kind of obstacles which we may face in our way of life. And we have to take failure just like an accident. We have to take failure, we have to accept failure or consider failure just like an accident. We have to give it up and we have to start walking again. So if we look at the great personalities, like there are many personalities who has owned their difficulty, who has not surrendered to their failure, and among them are Robert Bruce also. Perhaps everybody knows the story of Robert Bruce. That means Robert Bruce was defeated badly by his enemies, and he took shelter in a cave. So in that cave he faced the real situation of life. In that cave he understood the reality of life. What is the reality of life? In that cave he saw that a spider was trying to reach his cobweb, but he failed again and again. 7th time he failed, but that spider had a lot of stamina. That spider had never quitting attitude, and Robert Bruce copied his stamina. He thought that if a spider could that, if the spider never surrendered, if spider never surrendered to his failure, why can I? That means I should also not surrender to my enemy. He came out of the cave, he collected his followers and he attacked his kingdom, and he defeated all of his enemies, and he again regained his kingdom. So this story also proves that we can overcome our failure, and we should not surrender to our failure. And the story of Albert Einstein also teaches us that Albert Einstein is now known one of the greatest scientists of the world, but in his former life he was a failure. And the story of Abraham Lincoln, if we look at the Abraham Lincoln, he also failed a lot of times, but ultimately he got success. So if he failed, that means if he did not accept his failure, if he did not get up again, if he did not try, he could never become the president of United States. And the story of Thomas Alva Edison, if Thomas Alva Edison surrendered to his failure, we could not enjoy the light of this bulb. That means in trying to invent the bulb, Thomas Alva Edison failed over 100 times, but he had never quitting attitude, and ultimately he got success. Charlie Chaplin, we also know the name of Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin was rejected by Hollywood studio, but we know the rest of the history. Who is Charlie Chaplin? Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is called the best player, the legend of basketball player, and we know the past history of Michael Jordan. So in this way, we also would like to talk about Colonel Harland Sanders. Perhaps many of you do not know who is that person. He is the KFC owner. KFC owner, that means he has founded a chicken restaurant, and he was the founder of chicken restaurant all over the world. And he became, that means at first in his earlier life he proved failure a lot of times, but after at the age of 60 he got success. That means he had a never quitting attitude. Failure can't spoil the value of our life. That means we can accept failure, and we can overcome our failure if we know the value of our life. So in this, to relate this story, to make it clear, I'd like to tell you a story. That means and that story motivate me a lot, and again I read this story, and I read this story in Bengali. Some of my friends send me in my WhatsApp, but this story is very inspiring, and this story is very too much motivating in my life also. A little boy got confused about the value of life, and once upon a time he went to his grandfather and asked him, "Grandpa, what is the value of life?" So his grandpa didn't directly answer him, because his grandpa was so intelligent. His grandpa was a statesman. So he wanted to answer his questions indirectly. His grandpa gave him a piece of gems, a piece of stone to his hand, and asked him that go to the market and first meet anyone and asked him what is the value of this stone. So his grandson took the stone in his hand and went out. First he met an orange seller, and he gave that stone to the orange seller and asked, what is the price of this stone, or can you tell me the price of this stone? The orange seller took the stone from the boy and told that if you give me that stone, I can give you only 12 oranges. The boy answered that my grandpa told me not to sell this stone, so I can't sell it. Then the boy took the stone from the orange seller and went to another person's, that means a vegetable seller, and he asked the same question by giving that stone to him. And the vegetable seller told that if you give me that stone, I can give you only 2 bags of potatoes. But same reply was got by the vegetable seller. Then the little boy went to a jewelry shop, and he presented the stone to the owner of the jewelry shop, and the owner of the jewelry shop got a little puzzled by looking at the bright and the dazzling stone in the hand of the little boy. But finally the owner of the jewelry shop answered that if you give me that stone, I will give you $1 million and many more golden jewelry. But the same reply the little boy gave to the owner of the jewelry shop. Finally Finally, the little boy went to the owner of a stone shop, and he gave the stone to the owner of the stone shop, and the stone shop was surprised, more surprised than the owner of the jewelry shop. And he took the stone, he put the stone on the table, and he looked at the stone from different angle of the room. Sometimes he sat on the sofa, sometimes he sat on the floor, but could not decide how much value of this stone might be. Finally, the owner of the stone shop replied that if you give me, that means I can't buy this stone, it is priceless. If I sell whole of my property, and even if I give my whole life, yet I will not be able to buy this stone. It is so priceless, it is so valuable. Then the little boy came back to his grandpa and told the whole story. That means this is the value of life. The value of life will be judged from different angle, from different type of people. Some people may tell you that you can do nothing. Some people will tell you that you can do everything. This is called the positive thinker and negative thinker. If you meet a positive thinker, he will give you the right value of your life. And if you meet a negative thinker, he will tell that you are nothing, just an object in this world. So we have to avoid negative thinker, and we need not to ask any question to any other person what is the value of our life. That means our life is valuable, and if we want to get success, failure is common. Without failure we cannot get success. And as our life is as valuable as just a precious stone, and we have to take much care of our life, and ultimately we can get success. Now, what is the result of failure? Failure is common. That means from class 1 to 12, we have been experiencing the term failure, and we are too much, we get too much afraid, too much frustrated, too much depressed. We get nervous also only by the term of this word failure. When at the time of result, when I am in class 10, and at the time of result, we start our different type of prayer. If I am a Muslim, I start going to mosque. If I am a Hindu, I start going to temple, only so that we should not, that means we do not want to hear the word failure, only to get success. So result, that means what is the result of failure? Failure brings us frustration, failure brings us depression, failure brings us nervousness, failure creates in us fear, and failure creates indifference towards our work, towards our daily life. Failure causes laziness in us. So we have to overcome such kind of frustrations. So if we can accept failure with calm resignation, such kind of problem will not come to our life. That means if we think that failure is common to all, then we will not experience frustrations in our life. If we think that failure is common to everybody, even the great persons had experienced failure in their life, then depression will not work in our life. If we think that failure is not the end of life, depression or nervousness will not come to our life, then the main thing is that the right educations. That means sometimes our parents are also so emotional. Our parents expecting so much from their children, and our parents also instill a lot of nervousness, a lot of frustrations in us. And sometimes only to make our parents happy, we study hard, but instead of studying hard, we are thinking too much about our result. That means if I do not get first division, our parents will get angry. So parents should also be conscious about such kind of thing. Parents should also teach, parents should also encourage their words, parents should also encourage their children that you have to accept failure. Whatever the result might be, just carry on your education properly. Learn, that means you have to finish your education to learn something so that you can do something good in your future life. That means if you get first division, it means you are hankering after your qualification. So qualification is not so much valuable as educations. So parents has a very important role for their children to give them proper educations. If parents are good, that means failure will not work for their children. That means I am quite lucky to have a wonderful parents. That means my parents never rebuke me for my failure. That means if I fail, my parents are ready to say something that failure is nothing, just carry on your educations. Now, how to overcome my failure, how to overcome failure in our way of life, and how does failure come? Failure comes, that means for our wrong decisions. For example, I have no talent in science, but if for the pressure of my parents I go to the science stream, I'll have to experience failure. So selection of profession is very vital. If we don't want to accept, if we don't want to face failure, we have to be very careful to select our professions. For example, I am not interested in English. At that time when I was in class 5 or in class 12, I was not interested in English. That means the present situation forced me to accept to take English language. That means as I belong to a poor family, and when I got admitted in our college with political science honors, I thought that it is no so valuable language. That means every teachers, every professors are speaking English language. That means English language has much importance in present situations. And only to maintain my family, only to maintain my expenditure, I take English subject. That means if I do not get job, at least I can maintain my family by offering tuitions. So that was my target when I was in class 12. But actually my passion, my knack was in drawing. But my family could not support me. So if my family supported me, if my family sent me to a good institutions for learning painting, maybe but not surely that today I could be a good painter. So selection of profession is very vital, and parents should realize that. So failure comes from our wrong decision, and if we take right decision, yet we may face failure. It is not that I have too much interest in English and I take English honors, that means I am successful. So if I take right decision, yet I may face failure. How? Because of the lack of creativity, because of the lack of hard labor. So if I want to get success, if I want to become a dancer, so dancer also needs a choreographer. Without choreographer, he cannot give a good performance on the stage. So however expert, however well qualified the dancers might be, he must need a choreographer. Virat Kohli is a very world famous batsman, but for Virat Kohli also he needs a coach, because without training we cannot prove ourselves. That means if I take a coach, that coach will motivate me, the coach will give me a lot of tasks. That is a kind of labor. So in case of study also, if you want to speak English good, I need practice, so I need coach. So our English teacher is our coach. That means English teacher are giving us pressure, that's go to the podium and you have to speak something. So that is the labor, that is the pressure, and only the pressure can help us to go into the difficulty, and we can achieve the difficulty. Now how success comes? Success comes from different things. That means right choice of professions. So we have to be very careful. That means if Sachin Tendulkar did not take the right profession, he could not become a so famous batsman. That means actually as a student he was a super flop. He could not even complete his Madhyamik course. So it doesn't mean that he was not talented. It doesn't mean that he was a failure. So he was a failure in academic life. So academic life was not his right profession, and his right profession was cricket. But in cricket he becomes a successful person, and all over the world, the people of all the world know who is Sachin. But if the people of the world look at his academic career, they will not recognize who is Sachin, because he has not, that means he has taken the right professions. So we have to take up the right choice of profession, and if we are successful to take the right professions, then success will definitely come. So sitting over there, I hear a very good topic, that means success will come not immediately but definitely. It is a very good choice. That means it is not that I want to be a cricketer, so it doesn't mean that I start playing cricket and I become Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli. So result will not come immediately, but if I carry on my work, if I carry on my labor, if I carry on my passion, then it will come definitely. After that, unflagging efforts. To get to our success, to achieve our success, we need unflagging efforts. So if we do not put in unflagging efforts, we cannot get success. So for everything we need unflagging efforts. in case of educations, in case of playing, in case of dancing. So there are different types of professions, and if we want to get success, if you want to be extraordinary in that professions, we need unflagging efforts. For example, if we look at the great personalities in cinema, for example, that means SRK. SRK is very popular nowadays, but if we look at his history, that means he becomes so popular, he becomes an international wise hero, yet he has unflagging efforts every day. He is not sitting, he is not passing his time, he has a lot of money, he has no problem in his life, yet he is working day and night just like a labor. So that is called unflagging efforts. After that, we need a never quitting attitude. That means in our life we may face a lot of hindrance, a lot of obstacles, but if we lose our heart, if we lose our self-confidence, then we cannot get success, and for that we need never quitting attitude. After that, iron determination is also very necessary, because only with iron determination we can achieve something impossible. We can make impossible possible with only our iron determinations. And after that, we need patience. Patience is so vital for getting our success, because without patience we can do nothing. For example, if I have problem in solving math, then I have to prove that I have patience, because out of 10, that means same math I can make a lot of time mistakes, but if we lose our patience, then we cannot achieve anything. That means in case of spoken English also, so this is a very critical place to speak over here. So if we have patience, that after 10 times failure, at 11th times I will get success. So this is called patience, and patience means waiting, the ability to wait. After that, punctuality is also an important quality that will help us to get success. And last of all, the most important thing is disciplined life. So if our life is not disciplined, then we cannot success. We can be just like an ordinary person. For example, if I want to be an athlete, then my disciplined life is very difficult. For example, I have to get up early in the morning, I have to do exercise to keep me physically fit. So that is very difficult. But if I do not follow discipline, then I can do nothing in my life. So in this way, I see that failure is accepted by all, and failure is common to all. We should not get depressed. By this word failure. If you have failure, you have to be sure that success is waiting for you. And if you do not want to get success, then you will feel no failure. So failure is to overcome our failure, we need to undergo through some scientific process. That means it is not easy to overcome failure. If we want to overcome our failure, we have to go through step by step. For example, we should not be emotional to get success, because emotional is like a poison that can destroy your everything. We should be realistic, and realistic means reality. Reality is like a poison, like medicine that can cure all your fatal diseases. So we should be realistic, and we should be less emotional. So reality, that means for example, I would like to talk about our English problem. Suppose we have a problem, that means we become failure in spoken English. So I'd like to talk how to overcome this problem. So first of all, we have to think from where does this problem come, and in what way, in what step we should to go. For example, we are learning in West Bengal, especially in India, we are learning English in a wrong process. The whole thing is going wrong in schools also. So our problem is spoken English. We are coming here not for grammar, we are coming here not for writing skill. Our main purpose is how to get fluency, how to have fluency in spoken English. That is our main purpose. But if I got the ability to write well, it is extra, it will be taken as my bonus point. So speaking problem means we are going in a wrong process. That means whatever I know about how to go through What is the right process is that there are 5 process if you want to learn any language, be it English, be it Arabic, or be it Urdu. If you want to learn any language, you have to go step by step. There are 5 steps. For example, number 1, listening. Listening is the first step to learn any language. Without listening, you cannot understand, you cannot speak any language. For example, we can suppose this is our Bengali speaking area, it is not English speaking area, that is we feel very inferior, that is we have a lot of problem to speak that language. But we can speak Hindi because there are a lot of people who can speak Hindi over here. So first of all, we have to develop our listening power, because and speaking and writing are not the same, totally different things. So speaking, even a blind man can speak. So how can it be possible for a blind man to speak a language? If I find a blind man in England, he can speak English. If I find a blind man in Arabia, Saudi Arabia, he can speak Arabic. So how is that possible for a blind man to speak a language? That means he can neither read, he can neither write. So how is that possible for him? That is called listening. He has been listening to that language since his childhood, and he has copied them, and after that the final result that he can speak. So listening is our first important topic, but we are ignoring it. In our schools, the English teacher, when the English teachers enters the class, they are not taking the class in English versions, they are speaking Bengali. They are teaching the students using Bengali language. So that's the problem the students of West Bengal are facing, and that's why they are very nervous to speak English language. Number 2, understanding. Listening is not only important. Suppose you are listening and if you can't understand, your listening is nothing, your listening is useless. So understanding is as important as listening, and if you listen, if you understand, then definitely you can speak. After that we shall go to write, and after that we shall go to read. So this is the process to overcome our failure. So if we do such kind of things, if we go step by step, so we can overcome any kind of topics. So I don't like to prolong my speech. So with this I'd like to conclude my speech, and that means may God bless you all, and thank you.